Good morning, everybody. Three or 4 years ago, I never would have thought about getting online every single day like a podcast, whatever's going on, whether it's politics or Jilly Juice or, well, it wasn't even invented Jilly Juice back then. But I never saw myself doing something like this on a daily basis. But I'm glad I do, and I'm glad I did. So yesterday or last night, I actually slept in this morning because I was up late last night. I'm watching the Democrat debates. I am on Facebook on these sites that are bashing my president, of course, okay? And I'm just like, why, Jillian, are you getting involved in all these debates? It's like kind of like war, right? And first of all, you have to have the strength to fight a war. I mean, to fight any war, you really have to be able-bodied, and you have to have convictions and substantiation when you think about it. Even if it isn't fully gleaned out yet, there has to be a reason why you enter into some kind of war. Whether it's a war of ideas or a war of protocols or a war of whatever, you enter in something because you have something you want to change, you want to fight for, you want to convey, you want to do whatever, you want to protect. Though there's no imminent danger, but it's still about changing the hearts and minds of people around you. And so the thing last night, as I was going on to all of these debates on like CNN and whatever, and people were just talking about how horrible the president is, and they were throwing the same information that we were throwing. They're like, you're being a Benedict Arnold, and they're like, oh, you're a traitor for backing someone that's violating the Constitution, and that hasn't even been determined yet. And so that's why I get on there, because I'm like, well, hold on a second. I know now why I've chosen to be a Republican, so I'm putting that out there. But I have substantiation to kind of back up my arguments, even though it's still, the future is still theoretical. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We have no idea what really is going on as far as all the intelligence. We just have to trust. We see evidence, like 9/11 and Hiroshima and all that. Well, Pearl Harbor and all that. And so we know that there are people that don't agree with us, and that we have people under the impression that we are channeling Nazi stuff, but we still have to trust the people in which we put in office, as well as that's protecting our soil. So I kind of liken the whole thing with the presidency and them figuring out how to protect us in the background. It's like, parents do everything they can to make sure that there's food on the table. Okay. And so you're not always going to be privy to know what is behind what your parents are doing. Now, you hope your parents are not breaking the law, so they don't end up in jail and you end up in a foster home. But some parents, they have to have like 10 different jobs. Some parents, have to have friends and advisors to help out with like babysitting. Okay. And so, hold on. Thanks, Tiffany. And so that's kind of like our leaders. If our leaders are saying, okay, we're trying to put food on the table, we're entering into wars, and this is where I really got clear with as far as the Vietnam War, because I'm from Vietnam and I came from the war. Wasn't totally clear for many, many years whether or not we should have been in it. Okay, I mean, I'm from California as far as where I was raised after the war, but it's like you still get a skewed perception of why we went into these wars. And of course, when you're part of the hippie generation, or your parents are part of the hippie generation, then turn Democrat/Republican, then you know that their politics have changed. They've moved on from then. But there was a reason why we went into those wars to begin with. There's a reason why 58,000 people died to begin with. And that is to stop communism, definitely, wanting to have a buffer between us and China, potentially, and that the South wanted to have some kind of democracy, didn't want to become communist like the North. Okay, and so I think it's honorable that we go and help people fight for something like what we have, because we're taking in refugees, we're taking in people. I came here from a war-torn nation, love it. We take in people who are dying to be here. People are dying to be here. Well, there's a reason why. Well, instead of taking in the world, we got to go and help the world out there, you know, have some kind of control over their life and some kind of infrastructure and some kind of stay of execution if there's diseases or cancer. Okay, so I think no matter what, whatever wars that we get into, whatever war that we get into, back your president, because we don't just go off and just go and just fight somebody for no reason. There's always reasons behind it. Now, whether or not you agree with it doesn't even matter. Just like your parents. When your parents go out there and they go and get a job and they do what they're going to do to put food on the table, to protect your interests, protect your education, to protect whatever it is that you hold dear because you are in that family, you trust your parents. They're not always going to tell you everything that goes on. My parents didn't tell me everything that goes on, you know, as far as the finances, as far as why they did the things they did, why it is that my friends came and went, and why we changed from here to there, or why we moved here and there. You know, we kind of know, but we don't. And then, so you just kind of trust that if you're going to live on a land where you're given opportunity in something, and you're given the freedom of speech, yes, that you trust your government just a little bit. Just, yeah, there's always corruption here and there, but that happens. And then due process comes into play, even if it's like 10 years later. I mean, I know the thing with the Epstein, everyone's all tripping out on that. Like, well, how does this guy be able to, you know, dodge justice for 10 years? But you trust something that is protecting your interest. Okay. And so the same thing with cancer. Now, when it comes to cancer and disease and chronic illness and fighting wars, that's why I'm not really particularly upset with war, because there's so many different ways to fight wars. There is, you can do it overtly, and you can be like on the battlefield, or you can fight wars from your desk, from behind your computer, and just exchanging ideas, because you don't necessarily have to go to someone's house and force them to do the JILLYJUICE, because they're going to have to do it themselves. But if you give them enough information, whatever it is, and then they choose a side, whether it's casting a vote or drinking JILLYJUICE, then you're able to fight a war without having to lift a finger out there on the battlefield. That's why we have a voluntary army. The draft hasn't been around since Vietnam. And if Trump dodged the draft, good for him. Good for him, Bone Spurs. He's better suited, literally and figuratively, behind a desk doing what he does best, using his mind. There are people that want to join the military for whatever reason. They will join the military, or they draft you and you go and you weren't creative enough to find a way to go to Canada. Because if you don't agree with something, you shouldn't be drafted. But we've made mistakes as far as America, but you cut America some slack. You know, we're learning stuff. We're always learning stuff, and you got to give our government, our president, whoever, the benefit of the doubt. And the same thing when it comes to fighting cancer disease. I mean, these are the takeaways, because I mean, now I know that we belonged in Vietnam. I know I came here for a reason. Okay, and so this is my takeaway for the last couple of weeks. My takeaway for the last couple of weeks is it's okay to fight in a war, especially when your interests are at stake. Peace and relative acceptance to your way of life, your body, mind, and spirit promoting life. Fighting wars that you cannot win is asinine, but sometimes you don't know, but that's the thing. You know, now that you know as far as the JILLYJUICE, okay, you can fight a war in your body that you can win. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. You're not going to always know the wars out there, but if you have enough infrastructure and you have enough resources and you know who your opponent is, then yeah, you know you can fight a war that you can win. Okay, so so hold on, let me find that. I just got lost here. I will find it. Oh, where'd it go? I don't know how you lose that. Okay. Well, I completely. Sometimes Facebook gets so stupidly weird. Give me 1 second. Okay. I don't know. Sometimes things disappear off my wall and I can't find it. So I'll just go to my business page. Facebook jumps around a lot. Okay. So there are some wars that you cannot see. Here we go. So fighting wars that you cannot win is asinine. So that's the thing with the whole thing with the J juice. Yeah, you could try to use the chemotherapy and cannabis and all that, and that's fine. But the end result's always going to be the same. All right. So fighting wars that you cannot win is asinine. So you're going to have to fight a war if you're going to have to fight a war, you better win in whatever manner that is, even if it's just stopping a potential event from happening in the future. There are some wars that you cannot see, and there are other wars that are so obvious. But the specific measurable result is you stay alive. There's no sense in fighting war if the end result is death. That is the takeaway for the next generation of fighting wars out there. If you choose to fight a war where you could die, that is your choice. If things become mandatory and people decide to play possum, that is their choice. They could be better off fighting a war at home, not out there on the field, unless they're defending their homeland soil. And this also has to do with cancer disease and chronic illness. If you're going to fight a war, you better win. And so with this whole peace movement, okay, the anti-war movement, you don't know why we get into these wars to begin with. Yeah, you do and you don't. People have these assumptions. I mean, this morning I was listening to stuff about Jimmy Hoffa. I don't even know how the hell I got onto it, but I'm listening to documentaries while I'm sleeping and stuff. And usually I fall asleep in the middle of these documentaries, but for some reason I stayed awake. And I may have heard it before, but I'm thinking the thing with Jimmy Hoffa and RFK, and then how corrupt, the Teamsters were back then with Jimmy Hoffa, because he had to be involved with really unsavory people like the mafia. And the mafia were like the henchmen that would go in and kind of scare people into not being a scab type of thing, which is someone that breaks unions, that goes in and will fill in your place when you are on strike. And so, and then Bobby Kennedy, RFK, he was trying to take on the mafia and everything. And so there's this whole connection, that the mafia could have taken out Jimmy Hoffa, or hell, I don't know who could have taken out, but then RFK could have been taken out by the mafia or JFK. And, and so there's all these different conspiracies out there, but for some reason, my mind was able to catch something that potentially, the mafia took out RFK and possibly even JFK too. But anyways, I'm not going to go there because all the conspiracy about how George Bush was involved with the JFK, and I'm like, I don't know. But the thing with J-Juice is that it makes you clear on what it is that you're defending. You're defending law and order, which is basically your body, mind, and spirit, which is basically the laws of life. Okay. And, I mean, when I'm going on to these public sites and I'm debating with people and they're like, oh gosh, Trump is so horrible, and I'm defending him and looking at the cities that are run by the Democrats, I'm like, oh my gosh, look. I mean, I don't know. You start bringing in logic when it comes to all of your arguments. And so what I'm trying to say here is that the J-Juice gives you the clarity to be able to take on arguments out there that are based in emotion and then insert logic. You're not going to be coming from love, 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 or hate, 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 or, such aggressive emotions, but you're going to look at the evidence and then just go from the evidence and the intention and then the substantiation. And that is really about the J-Juice. That's what J-Juice is all about, is the fact that you will now see evidence in your body how it follows the laws of life. I mean, you look at, academia is taking my stuff and doing cures. Okay, you know those cures are not going to last very long. Okay, they're only going to be like a stay of execution. The J juice is something that's going to last indefinitely, so as long as you're not a victim of freak accidents. And so getting this across to people is interesting, and I've picked out the type of people that I'm catering to, and that's why I picked a political party. People are like, well, why the hell would you pick a political party? It's so like corrupt, it's so full of war, but it manifests from hormones. It comes from people who have a specific predisposition to be open to new information. They're able-bodied, and they want to live, and they're strong, and they have an entrepreneurial or working spirit, a work ethic. And so that's why I chose to be public with my politics, because no matter what, there's going to be people that are not going to like the J juice. No matter what, there's going to be those. And will they Republican? Yeah, they could be Republican. Will they be Democrat? Yeah, they could be Democrat. They could be independent. But who it is I'm really, really catering to are those that are personally accountable for their own health and welfare. They do take responsibility for their place in the world. They're not blaming. They're not overly emotional. What I have found is that Republicans are not overly emotional. I don't think I've ever seen a Republican really that has been oozing so much stuff as far as emotions. Maybe a little hatred, yes, because of, but I've never seen one really that I've seen, that maybe hatred because of the fact that they have to give their money out to things that they don't agree with. But I've never seen a Republican that is so into such special interest to where it's like their emotions are influencing their decisions. I've seen a lot on the Democrat side where it's all about love, 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 and it's all about let's give programs to everybody and give everybody, all these things and whatever, and handouts and all of that. And the J juice is something that is not like that. The J juice is something that you have to drink, you have to experience, all you, and then you have to stay with it. You got to work at it and multitask. So not only do you have to take care of yourself, but if you have kids or animals or husbands or wives, you're able to maintain that too as well without taking somebody else's resources and helping you out. You're having to do it kind of on your own. Okay? And so J juice is kind of like, where we don't have a glass ceiling. There is no feminism with J juice. There is no feminism with J juice. You create your path. You don't take it. You don't inherit it. Yeah, okay, Trump inherited it, but that's fine. He's Republican. He's doing wonderful things. He has a great financial background, and he knows loopholes in case somebody tries to slam something to him that, is unsavory. And so he's found ways to make it in this world relatively unscathed. Okay? The J juice, there's loopholes. Yeah, you can eat off the diet occasionally. Some of you have. But you keep drinking the J juice to offset it. You may have a slower healing process, but you're not following the protocol 100%. I know that. There are many of you that are not doing the protocol strictly at the blueprint. You are bringing in everything in their mother, but you understand the power of it, and you're not ready yet to really go 100% balls to the wall, drinking it and staying on the diet. But you found the loophole to where you can still maintain status quo, still get the nutrients in. It might be a slower process, and you found a way that the healing is not going to be so aggressive. Okay, fine. I'm not going to be that legalistic. And so that's kind of like the law out there. And if you have lawyers and you have money to be able to help you get through the loopholes, great, fine. No one's really hurt out there from people, getting the loopholes. But if you have money, you have resources, you'll find a way to still get what you need and not be totally, punished for skirting the law a little bit. Okay, I mean, since I didn't have a lawyer in the beginning, I had to deal with the Federal Trade Commission and advertising. So I had to learn, in ways, and then I found the loopholes. Guess what my loophole is? Since I can't advertise about doing the J juice and and how it could cure, but it doesn't cure, but how it could do all these things for you, even by saying reverse, because it's all semantics. I found social media. Social media is my loophole to get the point across. YouTube is my loophole against, you know, having a website where I would say this stuff. I couldn't say this stuff on my website, but I could say it on YouTube and I can say it on Facebook as far as Jilly Juice and reversing cancer, disease, and chronic illness. So even though it's illegal on, you know, on my website, it's legal on Facebook because it has its own community standards. And so that's what I mean by when you're savvy enough to know the loopholes, to know how to play with the law, and you want to get something out, and you need to get something done, and you want to keep your family going, and you want to keep your business going, and you want to keep your body going, you do what you can to protect your interests. And Trump has shown that. That's why I'm a Republican. Because people will do what they got to do to protect their interests. You want somebody like that in your family. You want somebody like that in your government. And you want somebody like that as your husband or your wife. Okay? You want someone that loyal to you to protect your interests. And so that's why I say sometimes it's necessary to fight the wars. If you choose to volunteer in the military, then that's your choice. You get compensated very well if you rise up in the ranks and you and say you survive the war, you can get a college education. And then here's the thing. Those that know about J-Juice, they go off to war, they do J-Juice, they'll heal from whatever happens. And I can't wait till somebody regrows a limb. It's going to be a while before that happens, but I can't wait for someone to do that. And I know someone's probably actively doing that right now and hasn't given me any outcome yet, because it's painful when you have to regenerate cells. Healing is painful. It's not fun. And so, you know, sometimes war is necessary. I don't want to be an anti-war.com type of person. The anti-war.com people are people that will roll over and die. No matter how much danger there is right there in front of them, they will be all about peace. Which means that that enemy doesn't give a crap about you, will find a way to stab you, and you'll still be like, okay, let's be peaceful, and then roll over and die. You would rather sacrifice yourself against somebody else that's trying to destroy you. That is not what J-Juice is about. You know, it's either the virus is going to recycle you back into the universe, or you fight, and you find the loopholes to keep fighting. J-Juice is like a loophole in this society where death is the outcome. Okay? I mean, there is something so profound about fighting for your life in every way possible. Fight tooth and nail for your life. And when you volunteer for the military, you do what they do. When you have a president that hasn't been convicted yet, you support him. You support your interests. You know, when you're married to someone, you support their interests. And if you don't want to be married to them anymore, then you go find somebody else. If you don't like America and you don't like to support their interests, then you go somewhere else. But we have so many imbalanced people that if we actually had that kind of mentality where we would just purge out anyone that's anti-American or has anti-American type of qualities, it would be half the country and we'd lose our workforce. So it's not really prudent for America to do that. So that's why we allow free speech, to allow you to say whatever the hell you want, give you that freedom without losing our lifeline, because every single one of you is money. We're all money. Okay? Because all of you have production capabilities. Some of you obviously, you know, have issues and you're on disability and you're drawing Social Security, and okay, that's fine. You've earned that in whatever manner that is, and you qualified for that. But America is very, 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 very strategic. She knows that there are people that are going to say horrible stuff. And we have to have checks and balances. Because we do have a great divide. You know, Obama came in, I was watching PBS Frontline, and they're talking about the Great Divide, and they're putting together, juxtapositioning Obama and Trump, and they're seeing such division, and they're interviewing like Ann Coulter and all these different political figures or senators or other people, pundits in the media, and their take on it. And it's like, yeah, you're dealing with the disparity of hormones, the types of people that have specific hormones present at the time of their administration, and then how does that manifest in their foreign policy, in legislation, in unifying or dividing. And I think every single president has divided the nation in some way, and that is telltale of the population. We have created these presidents, okay? And so the whole thing with the JILLYJUICE is to merge both the left and the right hemisphere together, so we understand how to multitask and not put all our eggs in one basket. But it just, right now, with such a disparity of hormones, that we're going to have such oxytocin, such love from Obama, where he doesn't want to go to war and will pay and give money to our enemies. Or you have someone that's full of testosterone, an alpha male, who I want to be dealing with foreign policy, who has done everything they can to make sure he stays alive and his businesses stay alive, and finds the loopholes. So we're putting all our eggs in kind of in foreign policy, in the military, because we allowed all of these people that don't like us to build up the last 8 years or so from the last administration. I mean, when you think about it, how easy it is to build up forces, okay, for 8 years. So you have an administration that's all about peace and love. It doesn't want to look at reality. And then all of these forces, these cancerous cells that don't like America, are building up. And then you have the next 8 years of a president who's going to be a war president, is going to have to go and neutralize that. And then you demonize him because the last president was so full of love, love, love. Didn't want to face that there is actual people out there that don't like us, that will find a way to tear down our interests. It's the same thing with cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Those that are Democrat, those that are so full of love, 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 will end up dealing with a conglomeration of cancer cells that they're going to have to throw something at it and disperse it or roll over and die. Well, that's not the JILLYJUICE world. But I know a lot of you on my Facebook are like that. You would rather roll over and die and allow someone to destroy you than fight for your ideals, because it's all about the love. It's all about the peace. Well, sometimes it's necessary to go to war. If you didn't allow things to build up to such an extent, and you didn't balance out the world's body with the right, balance of biochemistry, or you didn't stay on top of something, because that's just like with cancer. If you don't stay on top of it and it rears its ugly head, what are you going to do? You're going to stop fighting, or you're going to find every protocol out there in the market, whether or not it's going to work for you, but you don't know until you learn about JILLYJUICE. But if you are getting diagnosed left and right that you have this, you have that, and there's all these cures on the market, you're going to find every single cure and you're going to throw something at it until your body doesn't have anything more to do anymore. And that's kind of what's going on right now with the wars out there. We're doing cures, we're doing surgical techniques like taking out one, general, but there's still the root cause, which is we haven't figured out how to work with people that don't agree with our ways. And do I have the answer? I want to throw JILLYJUICE at them, but you can't force people to drink JILLYJUICE. I can't force you guys to do JILLYJUICE on my Facebook, much less somebody that has absolutely no respect for our way of life. Now, I don't think it's the people of these countries. It's the governments. It's the extremists that have taken over governments and countries. And then people think that's a representation of the people, and not necessarily. Now you look at brainwashing and propaganda, that, is not far from the mind, but then eventually, Mother Nature is going to kick in, and they're all want to fight for their life, and they're going to see the what's going on with that regime, and they're going to fight against it and protest. And so that's why Facebook is so important, and that's why Trump is doing the Twitters and the memes to say, okay, we're not trying to destroy you, but you have people in your government that's trying to destroy us, trying to terrorize us. I mean, we have Saudis coming into the Naval Air Station. We're trying to train them on how to fly jets, and they're killing our soldiers. I mean, you think about what Trump has to deal with, and, you know, he doesn't have all of his hands and everything, so he has to trust his cabinet, his advisors. You know, if I were to be president and I'm going up there and making all these decisions, I got to trust, you know, the Bureau of Land Management. I got to trust, you know, the NSA. I got to trust, you know, Homeland Security. I got to have all these people giving me all this advice, and I got to make decisions based upon what they're telling me because I'm not there. So in a lot of, you know, ways, it's tough to be a president because you got to trust your cabinet, and you never know if there's a bad one in the bunch or giving you wrong intelligence. And then you're still held accountable until, but then maybe you hope you have ways to substantiate what a general is telling you as far as in your cabinet, whether or not it's prudent to do this. And, you know, hey, if there is some kind of cancer cell and you're diagnosed stage 1, then yeah, you go throw something at it. I mean, that's kind of what Solomon is like he was basically like a cancer cell, like in stage 1 cancer. Do you want to let it metastasize, turn it to stage 4? And so, you know, I want a president. I want someone that will do whatever they can to protect their own interests, find the freaking loopholes, protect their own interests, their family's interests, as well as mine. So if Trump has proven that he can protect his own interests and find the loopholes in the laws to protect his interests, by golly, I want him to represent me. Even though he's not healthy per se, like the JILLYJUICE healthy. But he has the same characteristics that JILLYJUICE is all about. You go to war when you need to, you deal with it, and you know, and you find some relative peace. Now, I mean, is he going to be able to cure the world's problems and or reverse? No. But at least he's keeping the pressure on. He's not allowing us to roll over and die. And that's why it's hard for me to relate to someone that doesn't do JILLYJUICE now when they know about it, because it's like watching them roll over and die, because you know that's the inevitable. So, you know, and I try to keep and I try to keep my creative process the way it is. Sometimes I'll go on and early in the morning. Sometimes I'll you know, go on later. And I try not to be held accountable to anybody else's, you know, expectations or schedule. That's why I keep private messages to a minimum, to only testimonies, because when it comes to figuring out how to solve the world's problems and substantiate it, it takes almost no distractions except for what my priorities are. My priorities are my dog, keeping the house relatively clean, my husband, getting food, keeping food on the table, cooking for him when need be, and then trying to figure out how to substantiate my belief system. So you see how everything is connected. I want all of you to do the protocol. I want all of you to at least get the ebook or get the regular book, get the protocol, do it, send me testimonies, because those testimonies are going to help other people see the possibility. Okay, because that's how you're going to change the world out there. So we're going to have a lot more wars in the future. We're going to have pestilence. We're going to have more wars. Okay, and they're going to be aggressive. I mean, even still with me doing the JILLYJUICE, and I still get exposed to things. There's still sometimes a war goes on. Like I get mucus in the morning when I have, you know, stuff going on, but it's not as aggressive as if it was a couple years ago in the beginning. It's very manageable to where I just blow my nose, or I blow my nose or have a tiny headache because, let's say, I ran out of a certain kind of coffee and I'm using a different coffee. So a tiny, not even a really headache, just a tiny in the back, but I know why, because, you know, your body gets used to something, right? And so then you change your routine. But believe me, it's nothing like it was a long time ago. But when you're healed and sealed for the most part in JILLYJUICE, the tiny wars of adaptation are not going to be so strong. But right now we have so many people that are at different levels of decomposition, so many different levels of healing and decomposition, that you're going to see major wars go on out there. And you have to fight for your homeland. You've got to fight for your homeland, you fight for your body, and that means applying the right chemistry. Okay? But we have people that are living in their hormones to such an extent. They either hate, 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 or they love, 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 or they roll over and die. Well, actually, they hate, 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 and they love, 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 and then they roll over and die. And that's fine. You don't have to fight the wars that are out there, but you still got to fight the war in here. And you have to understand that when you fight the war in here, it's no different than the wars out there. And so then can you really be that critical of the political system? Because it really is a reflection of you. Our political system, whether it's Democrat or Republican, is a reflection of you. It's a reflection of me, because I see there's still work that needs to be done. We're not done yet. Since I've healed and sealed, it doesn't mean that I'm just done. I'm going to go off in my merry way. No, I'm affected by my community that's still imbalanced. That's my duty to the world, is that the world is me. And it's interesting that that's what I've kind of now, my major takeaway, and why it is I felt kind of weird. My whole life, it always felt like, I've just kind of been on my own, kind of weird, like I'm the only person in the whole world. But I'm not the only person in the whole world. It's the fact that everything out there is a reflection of me. It's a component of me, because we're all one flesh manifesting differently. And at some point, I felt whatever you felt at some point in my life. I've come from the love, 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 and the hate, 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 and the anxiety, and the humor, and the complacency, and the, I don't know, anxiety, all of that. I felt every single emotion all of you are feeling right now or have experienced. And so, so my life goal is to give this information out and see the specific measurable results. Now, I'm not saying we're having 100% perfect world peace, but less wars to where someone has to die. Okay, unless, of course, they really are an imminent threat. But I want to see more of, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how, because when you're even with a tiny war of just adaptation from one season to another, being exposed to different viruses, you're still going to be war. So luckily, we're only dealing with skirmishes. When you think about the war of World War I, World War II, World War I and World War II and Hiroshima and 9/11 is like throwing chemotherapy at cancer. Okay, so maybe right now with all these different things that are going on, we're just kind of doing surgical protocols. And then every time we have an election, it's kind of like an upset of homeostasis. It's an adaptation. Change is happening yet again, but change is always going to happen. The environment is always going to fluctuate. So that's how I have to see it right now at this point. Is that 9/11 and Vietnam and World War I, World War II, and all the different, all that stuff in the different parts of the world, it's like cancer and doing chemo or cannabis. And then right now, when we take out somebody that potentially could do great harm to us and our interests, it's like doing surgical laser therapy. Okay? And so, but we don't want to have too many stays of execution, because when you have so many stays of execution, eventually you're not going to have enough resources. So that's why we got to do the JILLYJUICE, you guys. You got to do the JILLYJUICE so we can get, and everybody across the world, and promote indefinite life where people don't have to die. And that, because people that want to die probably feel like there is no hope for them, even when they say there's hope. When you turn over and die, or you're embracing death, then the way in which you view the world is going to be skewed. And that's probably why we have such aggressive, horrible dictators out there that are destroying their people. Trump isn't destroying you. He took out something that could potentially be harm to you. So Trump isn't destroying you, but there are dictators out there that actually destroy their own people. Okay? And so, I mean, when I'm taking JILLYJUICE and then now stretching it to world geopolitics, it's a dicey thing. But then I already know that I'm not reaching a certain segment of the population that just won't get it no matter what. Just like in politics. You know, why you change over from Democrat to Republican and vice versa is because of biochemistry. And you really can't convince somebody to be a biochemistry that they're not. That's why it's like, you don't go out there to try to convince someone that they're wrong. You try to show evidence that maybe, and give another logical explanation behind why it is I'm a Republican, why it is that I back Trump, why it is that it's concerning to see that California, when it was run by Democrats, is now being run so much into the ground. There's evidence to show that, because I was there back when they recalled Gray Davis, and then Schwarzenegger came in. You know, San Francisco was doing wonderfully and beautifully, and I was there from like 2003 all the way to like 2005, and then I left, went to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii to Sacramento, and then from Sacramento to then Ohio. But I guess as soon as Schwarzenegger left, and then Jerry Brown came in, and then Gavin Newsom, and they're all Democrats, they have run California and San Francisco and San Diego into the ground. We have so much homeless, and that right there is concerning. So yeah, there is evidence to show that maybe who I'm choosing. Okay, but now we know people that we have social programs and all that stuff, and there's a reason why, and it's because of imbalances. And so we have to really, really start working on balancing out our biochemistry. And so I've been looking at, you know, through a lot of the politics, some of the things that have been told by mainstream as well as non-mainstream. I'm not going to listen to all the conspiracy stuff. And, you know, at some point you're going to have to follow law and order, your own homeland, protect your homeland, protect your body at all costs, and trust in the system, because it's there for a reason. That's why you're able to walk to your mailbox, and you defend what you believe in. And if you don't believe in America and you think America is horrible, then I feel bad for you, because now you're basically going to destroy yourself. And that's what it comes down to. When you hate America, you hate yourself. When you destroy your body and you roll over and die, you don't fight for your body or fight for your ideals, you don't really have too much respect for yourself, no matter how much you say you do. Remember, people pay lip service all the time, but it comes down to you guys actually exemplifying physically, biochemically. Okay. So anyways, that's really all I got as far as the war stuff and politics. But I really had to iron that out, because that's been something that has been bugging me for many, many years. Who do I choose? Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, Green Party, Catholic, Christian, Judaism. I mean, when you have so many choices out there, and you know, how do you choose? So you don't choose anything, because you're afraid you're going to pick the wrong choice and then be stuck with it, or you just change all the time. But I can safely say, as far as politically, because it actually matches my protocol, Republican really does fit the interests, because I don't need government as much as some people do. And I'm pretty able-bodied. And that's what I want to see in everybody around me, is to be able-bodied, to be well-balanced, relatively peaceful, being productive and contributing to not only themselves, but to whoever it is they're with, their family, as well as your homeland and their country. You pay your taxes, who then will take care of infrastructure, and the federal government will then provide military and whatever, okay, to protect your interest. And so that's what I'm promoting. And that's why now I could safely pick something and substantiate it without feeling like I'm just following the crowd. And so when you can substantiate your belief system besides saying, oh yeah, because of, I'm tired of having things taken away and whatever. But remember, if you're a Republican and you're aging and degrading, you're going to be concerned about access to health insurance and how to make it relatively affordable. And that's going to be a Democratic characteristic. And so how do you become completely, non-hypocritical? Is if you stay alive indefinitely, healthy, productive, not utilizing too many government resources, and you're helping your fellow man become relatively well balanced, then you will always be right. When you think about it, you will always have a backup to you will have, whenever someone throws out an argument to you or whatever, you'll be able to debunk it. And you will always you will never come off hypocritical. Those that die in the system, that are aging and degrading, throwing protocols at themselves that are completely misaligned, are going to be hypocritical in their thought process. They're going to be hypocritical in everything. The fact that you stay alive with the J-juice and you understand there's a need for war, there's a need for peace, there's a need for everything that happens in moderation, and you stay alive indefinitely, you will completely tear down every other argument out there. And you won't be hypocritical. And you'll substantiate your belief system. Being Republican is for able-bodied people who are pure capitalists that want to profit, yes. Because if you're putting your energy towards something, you want to get some kind of compensation, and you want to make sure that your infrastructure and that you support people getting their feet off the ground. But Democrat socialism should never be indefinite. But that's kind of what's going on out there. And so that's why I can safely say that J-juice is very Republican. The pills, powders, and supplements and due process is very socialistic. Law and order is there for a reason. Due process is stay of execution. Okay? And you should never, ever indefinitely live off the system indefinitely as far as the social programs. Not just like infrastructure, like, okay, but if you pay your taxes and you pay your driver's license fees and you pay all your whatever, but you're not like getting handouts from the government or getting all these different things, and you're taking personal accountability for the choices you make, and you find the right partners are not going to tax you and tax the system, because that's really what it comes down to, is who it is that you engage with. When you engage with someone that's completely opposite of your ideals, they're going to make a hypocrite out of you. Okay? Your kids are a reflection of you. So, it would behoove you to teach your children, okay, in the beginning, yeah, they'll be Democrat because they're not going to know any better, but you want to teach them Republican ways. But then the J-juice will help them do that. Be productive. Be healthy. Be able-bodied. Enjoy your job. Don't hate it. Type of thing. Be creative. Don't create this glass ceiling. There's no glass ceiling. There's just people that want to take somebody else's job and think they have every right to it. Entitlement. Don't create entitled children, but we do have people that are entitled. That's what all these isms are about, entitlement. Oh, he's discriminating against me, so I'm going to sue and take their job because they didn't promote me or whatever. We have enough resources now where everybody can be an entrepreneur on their own, and you can brand yourself. That's what the internet's all about, is branding yourself. So you don't have to sue somebody because they discriminated against you because you got passed over for promotion. Everybody has equal opportunity if you have the ability to comprehend and the ability to be productive, to put your boundaries down, to apply the right chemistry to the body. And so there's a lot of people that pay lip service, but physiologically, biochemically, longevely, telomerically, that's going to be what's going to, be the presiding factor. So That's why I get on every day. Now, I don't have a specific time I get on whenever. If I don't feel like it, I won't. But that's I earned that right. I'm not held to any kind of schedule. When anyone tries to put a schedule on me as far as the J Juice and get online, I'm not going to like it. I've had someone try to ask me, like, are you going to get on today? When do you get on? I want to be on there when you get on. And I'm like, dude, I don't, yeah. The whole point of J Juice is just do the protocol. Get the book, do the protocol, I'll add you into the group, send me the receipt. You can ask questions in there. I'm going to show you exactly how to make it in my YouTube videos, and then where my head's at all the time. Because that's part of the J Juice. It's not just healing your specific issues, but it's your mindset. It's how you communicate. It's your politics. It's how you express yourself. It's how you deal with controversy. Come here, sugar. Okay, so J Juice is not about healing and sealing and fixing your issues that you know about. It's a bigger picture than just the micro. When you do the J Juice, it's going to be from the micro to the macro. That's why you see me go from the cell in yeast all the way to freaking geopolitics. Because everything is connected. Everything is. Your thought process is a manifestation of your biochemistry. What you think is a direct correlation to how you take care of your body. So you have to apply the right chemistry to your body. You really do. And if you're giving your kids garlic cubes or whatever the hell you call those, garlic cloves, that's completely antibiotic and it'll destroy their microbiome. So you have to understand even the right chemistry to give to your children. And that's hard to get across to parents that are watching all these mommy and me groups and part of the whole healthy holistic world. There's this guy, oh my God, on the raw vegan, oh my God, Raw Food Wild Riot. It's the name of the group. This guy, his name is Owen. I'm not gonna say his last name, but if you go on there, you join that group, you can see who he is. He has these YouTube videos and he's totally into the raw vegan. All healthy, right? He has these herb drinks. They're all green. The guy looks emaciated. Emaciated. So there are a lot of groups out there that are touting health and wellness. They're all into the herbs and the extracts and the raw vegan, the vegetarian, and no gluten, no this, no that, no meat, no whatever. And they are wasting away. I think he gets like 1 like every time he posts. Because when you look at him, you're like, holy crap, dude, you look like you are starving yourself. Okay, so you got to apply the right chemistry to your body. You mommy and me crunchy mamas that are all about non-vax, throwing colloidal silver at your kids and garlic cloves and elderberry syrup and whatever else is out there, turmeric and honey, you're destroying their chemistry. You're destroying their biochemistry. And then your kids are going to be a major aggressive form of a hormone that was most present at the time of conception, as well as the time of, of the pregnancy. There are moms out there that had specific things happen during their pregnancy, and their kids are a reflection of those traumas, whether it's drugs or whether it's just, a bunch of stuff that went on during that pregnancy. These kids are now traumatized. So when you're applying the wrong chemistry to your kid's body, you're creating little traumas to their body that then they have to go and try to recover from down the road. That's why it's so important to understand the right chemistry. Sugar. Come here. Sugar. Okay, so the J Juice is the proper chemistry because your body's made up of fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And then the J Juice has and also bacteria. And the J juice has that. It doesn't have glucose, but there's glucose or sugar in the protocol as far as the diet. Come on down here. Come here, sugar. Come here. Come here. Okay, there's sugar in the protocol diet because there's fruit sugars and potatoes and all of that. And you're getting the animal fats too. And then you're going to have to deal with pain. You're going to have to do the waterfalls. You have to feel pain. And it's something that you just don't do for a second and then say, okay, never again. It's going to be woven into the fabric of your lifestyle, or else you're not going to see the benefits. Okay, so the proper chemistry applying to your children and you is paramount, because you're going to have to fight these wars within. We're going to have to fight the wars out there. We can do it surgically, or we do carpet bombs. But that's the reality. You fight for your homeland, you fight for your body. You don't roll over and freaking die. And so, yeah, I was brought here for a reason. I believe the war should have happened. The war, there's no reason why the war shouldn't have happened back then. We belonged there. The anti-war, the peace, the hippie generation, no war. They didn't understand why it is that we were there, because our people back then, the government wasn't very articulate, but they were trying to help another country defend the ideals of having some kind of democracy, no communism, and potentially be a buffer between us and between China and all that. China has now Vietnam as a communist country, North Korea is a communist country. So, but we have at least South Korea that is not communist. But still, people got to understand it's necessary to fight wars. And we won't just create a war just to do that. We don't just take over. I don't just go walk in someone's house and just take whatever I want from them. We try to do it diplomatically. We try to bring in, if we know that there's resources that everybody can use and they can use and make money off, we'll go in there and help them out. And yeah, there's a finder's fee. But some people have characterized that, Britain going into Africa, taking all their diamonds. I don't really know all the politics around that, but I'm sure I'll watch Blood Diamond to see kind of their take on that, at least the American take on that. But it's like, no matter what, we do have an interest to make sure that disease gets contained. We do have an interest to make sure that every single nation out there has some kind of stability. Because let me tell you, if you have unstable nations out there, it's going to bleed upon us and travel and trade and all of that. So we have an interest that everybody does well and has kind of the same ideals that we have, happiness, liberty, all that stuff, a doctrine, law and order, some kind of infrastructure, some kind of technology, say of execution. Those are the baser stuff. So you can go to sleep at night and not worry about somebody raping you or hurting you. So you have your own protection. I mean, people that live out there in third world countries in shanties, or the homeless in California living in shanties, having to risk somebody hurting them because they don't have enough protection around them. This happens in America. And now these people that have states that are like that, living in shanty towns with fecal matter in the river, in the water supply, you want them to represent you and show what marriage is going to be like? It's going to be like a Biff town back, in, what is it, Back to the Future? I would be afraid of having any Democrat really in office at this point. We only had about maybe 3 years, or how many years, with 3 years with Trump, and that's hardly, feels like it's gone by so quickly. I want to see 4 more years with Trump. So at some point, you guys are going to have to take care of yourself. At some point. At some point, you guys have to take care of yourself. And we can figure out, foreign policy, diplomacy. I don't know. It's just, it's a whole lot. And I don't have an answer for it, but protect yourself, protect your homeland. Okay? And that's really the takeaways that I have in this, is that war is necessary when it's necessary, because you don't want to roll over and die from cancer and aging. When you debate on the J juice and your mind is clear with logic, not emotion, you're going to be so effective. And then, you know, think of the government like your parents. You know, your parents don't tell you everything, but they make sure that food's on the table, your interests are protected for the most part. Some of you have parents that didn't give a shit, and so that probably be a bad analogy. But some of you that have good parents, relatively good parents, even if they didn't make a lot of money, whether they were a janitor or a doctor, they made sure food was on the table, and they find every way possible to find the loopholes to make sure that you got your needs met. And that's how you have to look at your government, whoever's in charge. And if they make a mistake, regardless, you know, just like, you know, what happened with Benghazi and Hillary Clinton and all of that, and that whole scenario, we will recover. So we were more preemptive instead of reactive like we were back then, and we are preemptive this time. So you kind of see Democrats are more reactive. Republicans are more preemptive. This is why the J juice is Republican. We're about surgical, preemptive, proactive. You build your military, you build your antibody, especially with cancer is building up out there. Because at some point when you have someone that's so full of peace, 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 and love, and ignore the reality out there, cancer is going to build up. If you're not taking care of your body in the way by bringing in the necessary resources, cancer is going to build up. And then you're going to have to go and bring in a Republican, which is the J juice, to go and do carpet bombs with the probiotics. And you got to deal with the healing process. So everything is connected. And that's really what I'm trying to get across, is everything is connected. So I'm just getting my ideas thought out, my analogies thought out and gleaned out. And so that's kind of what you're seeing right now, is me just getting my thought process together. Because yeah, I think down the road, way down the road, who knows? There's so many opportunities for me way down the road that it's just like I'm really preparing myself for the future. I mean, 40 years is really, you know, 80 years is not enough to really fulfill your potential. You start realizing who you are really, when you think about it, probably in your 40s, 50s. And for some of you, that's the end of your life. For some of you. When you just actually start growing up and understanding how the world works is when, like, in your 50s, 40s and 50s. Actually, even late 40s, probably even 50s and 60s. Relative to your predispositions. So right now I am, the first 100 years, I'm going to grow up, figure out how the world works. The next 100 years, make some major waves. So I still got 20 more years to really be known. But we'll see. I could be, you know, who knows? But I plan to be around for a long time. I plan for you all to be around a long time. But you got to do the work. You can't just pay it lip service. You actually have to do the work. Make J juice a priority. Make your healing a priority. Because everything is connected. Okay, you don't want to let things build up like the Democrats do and then throw carpet bombs at it later. You want to be proactive. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.